every now and again you'll hear, well, so-and-so is one of my boys. Well, I like to talk to people that want to talk to me too, and count Blake Trent in that number. He's like when the Saints go marching in, except when Blake Trent goes marching onto a golf course. What is he telling people? We'll find out that and more from the one and only Blake Trent, Brookville High School. He's helped out Chris Glaze, and he's the golf coach, and he knows some baseball as well. Let's hear from Blake Trent right here on the Sports Buffet podcast. Talking to Blake Trent, Brookville High School golf coach, former baseball coach. Talk to me about golf. What do you have to do as a golf coach? Because I think a lot of people will just say, you just get out there and play with the kids. I mean, what's a golf coach?
Well,
not asking about a good one because I asked somebody else.
Yeah, no. If you want a good one, go somewhere else. We have like 2 hours a day, give or take. We're at London Downs, and they're really gracious to us and kind of let us have the run of the place for the most part. So we do start, and I try to make it as competitive as possible. It's a little tricky here because a few of our kids, have played their whole lives, and they know the ins and outs of it, and a few are really, really beginners. So it is a hard mix, but we try to do some kind of like chipping and putting game each day, try to make it competitive, try to make it fun. And then, for the ones who are playing in each match, it's very important that they get out and, play 9 holes a day at least.
But we're not going out there and just playing 9 or 18.
No.
We got to.
No.
It's like baseball. And you're a baseball player and former JV baseball and assistant to Chris Glaze as well. Baseball situational. Golf, you've got to make it situational in practice as much as you can.
Yeah, and I need to do, I've had a talk with 2 of the rising seniors. I need to do a better job of, golf, if you watch it on TV, it's literally all they say is pressure. Pressure made them hit it crooked. And it's hard to, bring that out in practice. That's something I need to do a better job of. And that could be literally just standing beside the kid, standing really close to the kid, making them play with better players.
And you kind of got to be the swing coach, the head coach,
the
putting coach, as much as you can.
I try to tell, especially the kids that can play a little bit, I tell them, look, I'm just not qualified to dissect a swing.
Boy, there's a rousing endorsement.
I know, yeah. Send your kids here to play golf. But I like to think I'm pretty good on the mental side. Some little things with the swing, but for the kids who are just starting, I can help a little more. But some of the kids hit it better than way.
What's the
better
average off the tee? Just hypothetical.
Like how far they're hitting it.
Yeah.
A good high schooler is going to hit it. 260, 270, 280. Some more.
Okay.
We don't have any. Big
is that equipment?
Some is equipment.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to knock people,
but no. And golf's a game. I like to be a good high school golfer. At 16, 17 years old, you almost have to start at 7 years old, right? It's not, and I try to tell the kid, like we always have some, Dylan Gwill came out this year. He's, had a really good baseball year this year. Good for him. Never played golf and came out this fall. And I was like, Dylan, you can play, but just know that like, if you keep playing a couple times a week, it's probably going to be until you're, in your mid to late 20s that you're decent.
Never going to master the game.
Yeah, it's just such a hard game. The guys, and they make it look so easy on TV, but it's like any pro athlete. It's just a different level.
I'm going to deem you as a baseball player.
Okay.
First, right?
Yeah, I would agree.
Okay.
More of a baseball guy.
How different was it? Hey, I've got to take the baseball swing out of my head and make it a golf swing.
I probably didn't have a good enough swing in either to really speak on that. I think the biggest thing with both is, and now you see a lot of baseball guys, playing golf. It was very taboo when I played. If you played baseball, unless you pitched, your hitters, your position players never went and played golf. And I think that's kind of gone away now a bit. I think both the key is just try to be as athletic as possible. Mike Trout swings golf club all the time. The Braves are always putting out videos of Michael Harris and Austin Riley and, going to play golf. So I think that's kind of gone away a little bit.
John Smoltz, you're a big Braves fan. So
I am,
when we delve into Braves topics, we're really tugging at your
Smoltz,
heart.
I heard Andrew Jones say yesterday, said Smoltz was the best athlete he ever played with.
Wow.
And, his ability to do anything.
Well, Smoltz played with Tiger.
Fultz and Tiger, big buddies.
Yeah. So, I mean, and when you play with Tiger, I don't know, you could play with a better
Yeah.
golfer.
That's probably the pinnacle.
Before we talk about the Braves, you can either stand in the batter's box and face Randy Johnson, or you can stand in the batter's box and face Hope Trent.
Oh, man. The safe answer for my marriage is I don't know that I'd want to face Hope, because if you can't strike out. You can't get out against her. But if I did happen to square one up, she's not gonna handle that well. So I want no parts of the big unit. But I think I'm kind of lose. I'm obviously going to lose against Randy Johnson, but it's lose with the wife. If I square one up, I'm in trouble forever.
I'd rather face a good baseball pitcher than a good softball pitcher, because that softball, it's so closer, and that wind, I don't want to say it scares me to death, but I'm pretty sure and I'm not saying Hope's going to hit me either, but I'm pretty sure Randy's going to find the corners.
Yeah, I have some buddies that play, do some men's league stuff, baseball, and I'm like, one, I'm no good. Two, I'm not going out there and wearing one in the back. I want no parts of that. So they're crazy.
Did you ever, when you played, was Gene Yost
playing? Yeah. So Gene, my 8th grade year, I had Coach Glaze on JV, and that was Gene's first year with Glaze. So
he ever live pitched?
Yeah, he at that point he threw it a lot, actually. And I remember even before that, before I was.
Now, Gene Yost, by the way, played professional baseball, so that's why I'm bringing him up. This is not just some schlep off the street.
Yeah. He always cracked me up. I remember my sophomore year before we played Tunstall. And Gene this would have been 2010. So Gene wasn't that awful far removed, from it. And Coach White actually we were facing a lefty from Tunstall, and they were. I wasn't facing any of that, but
you were there.
I was there. Coach White had Gene come up and throw. Then, and I always kind of laughed, because he carved everybody up. It's like, well, this is good confidence, we can't hit this guy. We're going to hit the guy from Tunstall. But, he threw a fair bit,
You enjoy righties or lefties more? Now, you're a right-handed hitter.
I hit right-handed. We didn't see a ton of lefties. I would rather face, if they were both really good, I probably would have rather faced a tough lefty. I always felt a little better going to the backside, and the lefties, most of them are going to run, run away from me.
Here comes Randy Johnson. Bring him on.
I want no parts of Randy. I want no parts of Randy.
Fastball or curveball? Because Barry Zito had that one that dropped, I believe.
Barry had the big one. Yeah.
So, would you rather face a good fastball pitcher or a good breaking ball pitcher?
I always, and I was a very pedestrian average player and average hitter, but I always felt like the guys with the slower breaking balls, I always felt had a better chance of. I didn't like I could get fooled a little bit on the big slow ones, but still find a way to find a little barrel and single to right. The hard sliders, I was never a big fan of. The time I got fooled with those, they were gone.
Harder to hit a breaking ball or harder to hit a golf ball when it's on the tee?
Depends on the week. I'll let you know about 7:00 tonight after a little round with some mutual friends. Kyle Haney.
Okay. Sorry for your luck on that one.
Yeah, no.
I mean, when you hit it on the tee, it's not moving, but it's like.
Yeah, I mean, I think baseball's harder.
It's like the dimples are laughing at you, though.
Yeah, golf's hard, but I think most would say, hitting a really good pitch, no matter what it is probably a little tougher.
Kyle Haney, big baseball fan too, so you can probably teach him a couple things about both sports. Now, like we said, you're a big Atlanta Braves fan. When did you really become a fan? And I'm assuming it was WTBS that did it.
Yeah, so I, as a kid, I guess I was like any, kid growing up in the late 90s, or just, wanted to play sports and love sports. And it kind of developed with my dad and I. Dad's a baseball fan, but not, he didn't play. Just, I guess he probably got into it because of me, but he you sit around the house in the evenings, and the Braves were always on. So a lot of my memories are those. I really didn't get the '90s. I was born in '95, so I missed out on a lot of those. But the '02, '03, like the early 2000s, we watched almost every game. So that it definitely, that's kind of when it really sparked.
I think the two biggest fans I shouldn't say two biggest fans, maybe that's the wrong answer. Two biggest teams that have had fans come with them because of TV, probably the Braves and Cubs. I'm a Yankees fan, so I mean, you can blame my dad for that because a lot of people my dad's age, they like Mantle.
Yep.
Only the World Series was on, so that's how that happens. So everybody that doesn't like the Yankees, Cubs, or Braves, I guess we can call them weirdos. Because you're right, the Braves were on all.
Yeah, it was America's team.
I mean, going back to the 80s even.
And I remember, I don't know the exact year, but I remember, when the TBS deal expired or fell through, or whatever, and I was, devastated.
What am I going to do?
Yeah, and that was like the Braves won in '95, and then I guess they won again in 2021. So but they weren't really the best years, I guess, in Atlanta, but they won the division every year.
Yeah,
this was like of course, Chipper, and you had Furcal was one that always sticks out to me, and Marcus Giles, those guys up the middle.
Always love talking about Marcus Giles with you.
Yeah, 40 doubles. Maybe the only Brave, I think, is that what it was? Only Brave to ever have 40 doubles in a season, maybe? Maybe the most recent. It was 40 doubles.
He's
that's
up
a bunch.
there, yeah.
Well, that's a bunch.
If you're playing the Immaculate Grid, which I always love to do, it's kind of your daily sports trivia. If you can guess Marcus Giles on 40 doubles, you're getting a lot of good points because most people aren't going to say Marcus Giles. So. And by the way, if you want to call, and I'm not saying you said this, but if we're calling the Braves, I don't want to say mediocre or losers because they won the division every year. They didn't win the World Series for almost 30 years, about 25. People might get grumpy about that, but I would love to have that consistency.
Yeah, it's being a baseball fan is really hard on bad teams. It's the Braves when they officially, did their rebuild. And basically, Kimbrel was gone, the Uptons were gone, Chipper had retired, but they, not sold, but just either traded or didn't re-sign everybody just about but Freddie. It's hard to watch your team when they lose 95, 100 games a year. If you're competitive, that's all.
Imagine how it is to be a Royals fan.
Yeah, it's tough. And Bobby Witt Jr. is so good. It's a guy that, I watched him some in the World Baseball Classic, and I don't think people realize just how good he is.
But go from when you were born till I don't know you're a bit of a historian, but I mean, there was some, if you're finishing like 400 winning percentage or below, and you're probably going to do that for multiple years, gosh, it just, for lack of a better term, it sucks. Yeah. Opening day, if you're like, and I'm going to pick on the Pirates, you're a Pirates fan, you know that they're not going to be in the playoffs. So you've got to sit through 162 of these things.
Yeah, it's tough,
and it's not going to be a load full of.
And
fun.
It's also, I always say it's tough too when, as a fan. Now I guess this is being a bad fan, but when you're that bad, I've always said it's easy being a fan. You don't have to keep up with it. But when you're right around 500, when you're 3 to 6 games out, that's tough because it can go. You're probably, your squad's probably not going to get in, but there's hope. You still, you're hovering 6 or 7, 8 games under 500. It's tough because you're still invested, but the chances aren't great.
I felt like the Braves were always weird too in this fact. They're not a Yankees, Dodgers, Red Sox to where they're just going to go out and pay 35, 40, multiple of that million for one guy. But they, have been in an era where they sign guys to long-term deals. Even nowadays, like Albies, Acuna, they signed them to long-term deals that were cheap at the time because if those guys went on the market, Acuna, after he had his year of homers and steals, good Lord.
Yeah, and going back, all those, the 90s teams, I know Matt, and I'm not, I don't know those teams as well as, the recent ones, so to say, but no, Maddox was a free agent, but and Smoltz was a trade, but Glavine homegrown, Chipper homegrown, Andrew homegrown, of course McGriff, bounced around, but then really the World Series team, like the core of those guys were homegrown. And I always feel like if you're not a Dodgers, Yankees, Red Sox, you have to win at least one with your young core. Like the Braves reminded me a lot of the Cubs, where they won their one with Bryant, Rizzo, and Baez, and those guys. And I mean, the Cubs are not a small market team, obviously, but they're not the Dodgers, Yankees, Red Sox, Mets, and so at least doesn't feel like they are. Maybe they are, but the Braves got that one with Albies homegrown, Swanson homegrown, Fried homegrown. Of course, they had some obviously you have to have free agent signings and
in today's age,
100%. And they hit the deadline so well that year. They got Soler and Rosario. Fun fact was at the first game after the deadline that year, so got to see the first game that Soler and Rosario, which was interesting. Wife and I used to do an Atlanta trip every summer. Have not managed it with 2 kids yet, but it's
good luck.
I don't want to rush it. I see a lot of people pushing strollers in 103-degree heat in Atlanta, and it doesn't.
I always tell people too, it's the worst time to go to Disney. For if you have to push a stroller at Disney World, don't do that. Just wait until your kids can have the memories too.